Okay, let's get started. We don't need much today, just a tissue blade, deep red, some forest green. I went ahead and made this into a cylinder. It's still rough and not trimmed, but we're going to set it aside. We're going to take the red over to the pasta machine and put it on the thinnest setting that you can use and still work with your clay. So I have an Atlas machine. I'm going to put it on a 5 or a 6. That's pretty thin. It can get tricky. I'll be right back. Okay, now we're going to slice this green barrel. What we're going to do is cut it in half, roughly, straight down. Leave the pieces where they sit. Now we're going to cut each of these pieces in half, roughly. Be careful to push straight down. Keep those slices as straight as you can, because we're going to cut those in half one more time. These are going to make the little veins on the plant. Being very careful to push straight down, shave that out. This is why it's important to let your cane rest before you slice it. If you leave it alone for a while, it's much easier to do this, otherwise you get too much distortion. Alright, that piece fell over. It's alright if it's not perfect. Mother Nature is not either. Okay, so we have these. Now, we need to make one more cut. We're going to cut on the diagonal to the lines we just made, leaving a small triangle at both sides. Let me see if I can show you. See this little part here? We're going to leave a little triangle on the other side about the same size. So you want to eyeball those, cut on the diagonal, leaving a little chunk to either side. It's best if you have the blade side down so you don't slice your fingers off, but you already knew that. There we go, diagonal cut. Now, I'm just going to gently pick this up and set it to the side while we grab our slab of red that we have rolled out on a number 6 setting. Okay. I also let this rest so it doesn't tear when I move it around. Oh, it's sticking to itself. All right. I'm just going to trim that right out of there. There we go. Now, what I want to do is trim this down so that it's about the width of my drum here. So, roughly here and here. It doesn't have to be exact, but we're going to trim down how much we're using here. It's better to have a little bit more and have to trim it off than not enough. So I'm just going to pull away what I trimmed for ease of working. There we go. We have a nice red strip. Now what we're going to do is take our green pieces that we made. My triangle came loose. We need 1/2 of these. What we're going to do is set it on here and add a red vein. cut to size. Okay. I'm going to set it back up. I'm going to get the next one. Well, I'm going to try. Get the next one. Now that one's got a big air bubble in it, but it doesn't matter because we're still going to smush the heck out of these into leaf shapes and make them much smaller than they are. So it's not an air bubble. Okay. What you do is you start fitting these back together so you know which way everything goes. Take the next one. It's getting really wide there. I'm just going to trim the side too. Get it to fit your piece. Pull the rest away. Put it together with the next one. Pull the next layer away. We're going to do this to both halves. Just be careful in between picking them up. Make little adjustments. See? Starting to come together. Grab the next layer. There it is. Forgot which way it was going. Okay, now you have two halves. You're going to take one of them and lay it out. Let's make a nice even end on the end of here. Got that nice and level. Okay, and then we're going to take our half, lay it on here. Don't worry if there's some hanging out over the edges. All of this will get trimmed off and lost as we reduce, so I don't worry about it now. Up here, trim that to size. Boy, that's stuck on there pretty good. Pull it away. And bring it over here. Match these sides together. See how they sort of line up? First, that's what I said about trimming. I have some dangling here. If you have too much in here and you're afraid that when you put your halves together it's going to smush out over, it might. So what you can do is just take your blade, make sure you push straight down over, just give a little slice, a nice little trim. See what I shaved away? Now we have a nice, that's beautiful. Alright, put that to the side. Pick this up. Match these up. We want to match the two little triangle ends that we made. We want to match those together. Make sure on the back, I got a little dangle there. I'm going to trim it with my blade. gently. The nice sharp blade, you can just come across that, get rid of it. This extra over here is driving me a little nuts. We can make it go away. See that? Oh, still some more. It doesn't matter. All that's coming off. Let's get these shards out of here. So when you've finished layering the veins, you have a piece that looks like this. See the red veins? Don't worry about that. We'll trim those eventually. Set that aside. We're going to grab the other half and we're going to repeat the process. Layer at a time on the red until we have two pieces like that. Okay, so what we want to do is gently start pressing in the middle, just a little bit. Squish it together. I'm not reducing yet. I want to keep this cylinder shape, but I want to start pressing that design together in more of a circle. Right. Make sure to press on both sides. So we're not going to go into reduction, but I'm going to reduce this until I have the design in there really good, and then we'll start shaping it into a tall triangle. So I took those gloves off. You'll have to forgive me. This was my first video, and I thought I'd be able to save you all from my dry, cracked cuticles from working with clay and having dry hands in the winter. And what it did was make unforgivable wrinkles in my clay. And that's why we don't work with gloves on. I thought I could to hide my fingers because I don't have the pretty fingernails. But I can't, so here we are. There we go. See our leaf shape? Looking good. Alright. I'm going to go for just a little bit more point on there. Nice. Let's check the shape. Oh, getting wonky on that side. So we'll just go back over. Push some roundness back into that. Slowly trying to get rid of our glove marks. Trim those ends off. Here you can see what we have. Check it out. That's it. It's not very fancy. It's fairly primitive. When you cut them, shape them, and put them together, which I'll show you next, you have a believable plant. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and cut off 12 of these slices. We don't want them too thick, but we don't want them so thin that they won't hold their shape when we try to sculpt them. It doesn't matter if they're even or perfect. We're going to shape them and bend them. That's the beauty of everything I do. If you're a perfectionist, you could drive yourself crazy. But we're not going to do that. So I'm going to slice these up, and then I'll show you how to put them together. Okay, we're back, and I have my slices ready to form into a plant. But first I want to show you how we went from this cut slab. See how nice and sharp and crisp the edges are? We don't want that. So what you're going to do, this is what we cut. This is what I made. We're going to take this and fidget with it until it's more organic. Going to roll those edges down nice and round, all the way around. Keep the tip. So all I do is kind of tip it, and I roll my finger along that edge. Take one pass all the way around. Flip it. You're just pushing on that 90-degree angle and rounding it off all the way around. And as you're doing that, you can kind of elongate your leaf, press it into shape. Just fidget with it. You're not trying to bend it out of shape, but you want to put a more organic feel and a less sliced feel. And when you gather these all together, that's what makes it look like nature and not like factory production. So I have a bunch here that I've already fidgeted with. As you can see, they're all pretty rough. But once again, this is not a perfect science. So we're ready to begin. You take your first one and you curl it in on itself. Just wrap that bottom leaf right in on itself and make a curl. See what we have there? This is why we have 12. There's going to be 5, 2 rows of 5, and there's 2 in the middle. So you take the one you curled, face it in against the next leaf, just hug that leaf right around there. Just make it hug that curl. Don't worry about rearranging your leaves yet, just kind of let them fall where they will. Now we're going to put a star shape of 5 leaves around. Here's what I do. I want to put my first leaf on, and I don't really want to wrap any edges. I just want to attach the base. I'm going to be layering these, and when I come back around I need to tuck that layer under this one. So leave this as a flap. This side you can push down. Alright. So that's one. Start about halfway. See the midline? Put that one there and wrap it. Just hug it right around there. See? Take the next one. Same thing. See the midline? Take that. Just hug it right around. That's 3. See the star shape starting to happen? Here's the next one. Same thing. About halfway. Maybe a little more. See how we still have this flap where we came? We need that. So we're going to take number 5. We're going to tuck it under there. And over that one. Now, I'm going to gently squeeze around the very bottom. I'm not squeezing up here at the leaves, I'm just squeezing the bottom to fit it together. Gently. See, you got some spring back on those leaves. Just going to gently, here we go, fidget with it. Be ever so gentle when you touch these. Don't bend them beyond where they want to go. Gently keep pressing. Don't curl. Just press until it gives. Tease it down. Look at that. That's one layer ready to go. We have 5 more to put on. We're going to put them in the gaps, in the stars. You want to overlap. So keep an eye there. Put your first one on in between. See, this is the prior layer. You want this one to pop out in between. And each one. 1, fuzzer. 2. Just hug it right around. Overlap a little bit. 3. Or is that 2? 4. And last one right up in there. Same thing. I'm not squeezing the whole body of the plant. I'm still just squeezing down here at the base of where I attach them. And I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to coax those leaves down again. Don't push hard or your leaf will snap. Once it breaks, you really can't put it back together. These are too thin. You just have to make a new leaf and do it again. So be gentle. Now's a good time to check your tips. If any got dulled while you were building this, it's a good time to put the point back on. Little details like those points are more important than anything because your eye sees those and tricks you into thinking the plant is real. So go ahead and take this moment to just coax things down, tweak your edges, just fiddle with it until you say, yes, I think I have a plant. Now, one step further, this is just a piece of parchment paper. This is some scrap that I've cut out with a circle cutter. I use these for a base. I'm going to go ahead, reach over here, grab my tissue blade. I hold these right in my hand like I'm paring vegetables. Take my tissue blade. I'm going to cut a flat base straight down towards my fingers. Don't push too hard. If your blade's really sharp, you could hurt yourself. Look at that. I dropped it. This thing's fairly resilient, but that's because I let my cane rest. And I let my slices rest before I built. Be patient, let everything rest. So we have a nice flat bottom here that we just cut off. We're going to attach it to this little scrap base. See the plant bloom out a little as I push on the edges. A little more coaxing. And there you go. So you can do variations on this by only doing the first 2, and the first layer of 5 would make a smaller plant. Cut the base, set it beside, and you have a little cluster of plants. Once you learn this technique, you can combine these leaves all kinds of different ways to make very believable little succulents.